Um, and while I was a stylist, I started to tweak things here and there on clothes, buy a jacket, change the arms, or remove the collar, buy a suit, change the lapel. Um, then I started also to draw. So that's how I discovered my passion for designing. In the beginning, I was looking at myself as just a stylist. So I started to make drawings, started to make items myself by alternating already existing items. I remember the first suit I made was for my big brother's wedding when I went to buy a suit and couldn't find the one that I want. And I sat down, draw the one that I had in my mind, looked for a tailor, made the jacket. Remember the tailor told me that it was impossible what I wanted to do. I told him, do it. If it doesn't come out right, I'll still pay you. The funny thing, when I went to pick my jacket, he was making another one that looks the same for himself. So when he finished it, that's when he really saw what I meant. And receiving compliment for that jacket really changed my life. I was like, yeah, this is a thing that I can do. Then I stopped I had a shop for fashion. I stopped it and opened up my fashion house. I was also at that time working with a lot of celebrities. I dressed Davido, dressed Weasel and Radio in Uganda, dressed Chameleon, various artists here in Rwanda, Uganda, and also Nigeria. Addressed DK, who's also part of the 30BG gang. So yeah, but the more I was dressing all those celebrities, now it upgraded to more bespoke attires, bespoke suits. So I moved from celebrities, started dressing government officials and CEOs. Um, but at some point, I also outgrown that, if I would say. My passion started becoming more towards capacity building, uplifting others. That's when I was called by APFA and also Rwanda Polytechnic to design a curriculum for fashion in Rwanda for higher education. But to go back a little bit, when I finished my studies, I wanted to continue studying fashion design. When I finished my high school, at that time I was studying electronics and telecommunication, received a government scholarship to continue in electronics, but at that time I already knew I wanted to do fashion, so I didn't want to continue with electronics. So I looked for schools. I couldn't find any that suited my needs at that time. And also, it was very hard at the time to get scholarship in Europe or in the US, and schools in fashion are quite expensive. So I wanted to continue the studies, but I couldn't. So I started teaching myself, doing research, reading books. So when I was called to work on the curriculum, it was very personal because I knew the struggle that we had not having any higher education institutes for fashion. So I worked on the national curriculum with Rwanda Polytechnic and the Ministry of Education here in Rwanda and APFA, which is one of the NGO that supports the fashion industry here in Rwanda. After conducting or after finishing the curriculum, we implemented it at IPRC Kigali, which is the only higher education institution that has fashion design in Rwanda. I worked there as a teacher, training the student in fashion history and trend forecasting. So when I was there, that's when I saw the need or the gap for a body or an institute that can support these designers transitioning from school to the industry, or also sometimes even startup designers who wants to really perform in the industry. They need a lot of things that is very hard to attain. If you don't have the right connections, if you don't have enough money to buy the equipment you need, it's very hard to start and actually grow your business in this industry. It's very challenging. So at that time, that's when I had the idea to really create a hub, a hub that can be there to support designers in terms of education, because not everybody is going to go to IPRC to do 3 years. So even mostly talking about designers who are already operating in the industry, they need specific knowledge, something you can do with a short course of 3 months, 6 months, or even a masterclass of 1 day or a workshop of 2 days. So that's what we are trying to do with Kuza, is to create an ecosystem where designers can collaborate, where they can have access to information and education, where they can have access to infrastructure. We have right now a workshop that designers can have access to anytime, has sewing machine, buttonhole and button attaching machines. We have overlocker machines, a nice space for cutting and ironing, all the equipment they need to produce. So they can access that on a very small fee per day, per week, or per month. In partnership with our partner, Pefe, we are also setting up a design studio that will have top-notch equipment for designing, really computer that can support heavy software. And we will pay for those software as well for them, so they can come and design from there. As I always like to say that the finished product of a designer is really not just an item. It can also be a drawing that they can also sell. There's a lot of platform where they can sell their designs, because it's the same thing as an architect. The finished product of an architect is not the house. That's a finished product of an civil engineer. Yes, an architect can get to the point of maybe building the house, but it's the same thing for a designer. The designer, yes, it's great if they can do the production and have a finished garment, but not all of them, now that we have a school that is graduating 30 students or hopefully more in the future, not all of them are going to be opening their fashion houses, well, which is also what we help them to do to find their way in this industry. So that designing studio will help them to really create some nice illustration that they can even sell, or they can have gigs to design tech park or other digital solutions. So the design studio will be also another infrastructure. It will be opened by the end of this year. We are also connecting them to various opportunities to investment. I've also worked as an expert in the sustainability and circular economy, working with a circular economy hub at Norsken, which was founded by the Bestseller Foundation. Bestseller is one of the biggest fashion group in Europe. It owns Azos, it owns Zalando, it owns Jack and Jones, Veramoda, a lot of brands. We've worked with them to find solutions in terms of sustainability, and also how sustainability practices can be adopted here in Rwanda. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, and I'm so glad to be here to have this conversation. Really, sustainability is something we have to adopt as early as possible, and I think as African designers, we have more chances and more opportunity to adopt sustainability than foreign brands, because first of all, it's very hard when you have an established brand and you need to be sustainable. It means you have to destroy a whole system that you have built and build a new one. But because at least here in Africa, we are still building that system, we can start where the Western country are and not start where they started. So I think it's the right time for us to adopt sustainability and circularity. And as well, it's very important because it's already embedded in our culture. Yes.
Yes,
Thank you,
yes,
Pastor.
Forum. Yes. Thank you so much. Allow me to interrupt you. And yeah, we back to the point, but yes, you are doing amazing job. Winnie, how has your experience as an African designer in Europe influenced your design aesthetic and approach to fashion? So we start from there.
Okay, so generally, as an African that is living in Europe, one of the things that I have to say is, for instance, I wrote an article that I put up on LinkedIn that was talking about being an African and how it is a competitive advantage in general in any particular industry. And in my experience, we are dealing with the global market, and we cannot call it a global market until the Africans have also put their stamp. So that has come so much in handy for me to expose myself as an African designer, because people are hungry to know what exactly the African fashion industry is like. For that reason, we've been super misinterpreted and misrepresented by people that have no idea what the African fashion industry is and what it entails. So what happens is that you find people that are with big brands, and they just look at this beautiful print and they put it right there, but they do not understand exactly what that means to a particular African country. So when you come in as an African designer, as Wine Chirabo, and you put on your stamp and you can defend it, that helps to push the brand in itself. And that has strangely and amazingly given us a very good visibility. So in general, that is how my experience has been in the European market, is the fact that people are willing to understand exactly where your print is coming from. What exactly are you trying to communicate in the fashion world? And for example, a lot of people here going to the sustainable part is they like to know where their clothes are coming from. A lot of my clients, when they approach me, they ask me, so this fabric, where did you source it from? Who is the vendor of your threads? They want to know everything. And having knowing the idea, the background of my fabrics, and I know exactly who I bought them from, it kind of opens the doors for me, you know? So that is how it has been for me. The people are looking at it with a really fresh and surprising breaking rule kind of position, because it's not a thing they're used to. People are used to wearing plain cotton and jeans and leather. But when you introduce a print in a particular tasteful way, because that is a thing that as African designers we have to pay attention to, because it's very important to know who your market is and how you are going to sell to them. If you are going to sell to a level where you can compete with big European brands, because Europe is flooded with a lot of fashion brands. But if you are going to compete with them, you have to understand what the market wants. And what does the market want? It wants quality. You can have a lot of beautiful things, but if the quality is not there, 100% of people are not going to be receptive to your designs. So it's one of the things that we have to pay attention to, because when the people look at our prints, they tend to underestimate it, because there is a connotation about Africa being primitive and how we present our stuff. It's not at the level of the global competition. But the question is, how are we putting ourselves in a position that helps us to eliminate that connotation? And that is what we as Wine Charitable are trying to do, is we're trying to represent Africa in a way of, hey, listen, we are from Africa. We are here to compete at a global level. And we can only do that by paying attention to what our competition is doing. So if you put your eye on a higher level of competitors, if you look at the fast fashion brands as your competition, your level of growth is going to be at that. If you look at your competition as the high couture fashion brands, the Valentinos of this world, the Gucci's and whoever's, you are going to compete at that level. So my idea for all of that is, as Wine Travel, is, hey, let us do a mixed way of how can we represent Africa, but still satisfy the needs of our European feminine client. And with that put together, it's where we come with Wine Travel, which when you read on our platforms, it will tell you we mix cultures. We like to put a bit of African here and a bit of the Occidental culture here. And together we come up with a mash that creates Wine Travel. And that has been our experience generally. So yes, thank you.
Yeah, that is very interesting. So now, Winnie, this makes me to ask you, what unique challenges and opportunities do you see for East African fashion designers in the global market? Let's say in the Europe, you mentioned the competition because there are so many big brands with very high quality clothes in the Europe. So how do you think with that?
The good thing that you said is challenge, not a problem, because usually challenges are things that you can get over. A problem is like, oh, I'm stuck with this one. Give my French. Like I'm stuck with this, you know. But a challenge is something that you can deal with. For instance, one of the challenges that is faced by the African designers generally is access to quality fabrics, quality African print fabric, something that someone is not making just to make money for today, you know, like it is very crucial to pay attention to that part, because if you're trying to make a high fashion outfit, you cannot counter that with a low quality fabric. That doesn't make sense. The balance doesn't balance. The other thing would be intellectual property. We've seen a lot of people suing big brands for stealing their designs. So that is also another challenge. But all of that, at the end of the day, you can always find a way to manage. Like you can deal with lawyers and sue them and maybe make even some money, who knows? And then also there is a competition with the fast fashion brands. If you're well familiar with fashion, you will know that right now in Europe, in the Western world and Eastern world generally, there is what we call fast fashion, which is brands are tending to release new collections almost every week. Every single week, you enter a shop and whatever you saw last week is not there anymore. That is called fast fashion. And what happens is that they carry all of that that they didn't sell or whatever the people don't want, and they dump it in Africa for us to buy downtown for, you know, these clothes that they keep throwing up in the air. Yeah, come and buy this. It's this shillings or whatever. And that is also a competition to a growing designer, you know, because you're competing with brands that have an amount of money that they can spend every single week producing. So that is quite a challenge to compete with such big fashion houses. And the other one could be cultural misinterpretation, which I had already talked about a little bit earlier. The people that have been writing our history or have been telling our story in fashion, they have been telling it depending on who told them, not on what they know, not on their experience. Some of these people are barely Africans. They don't even have a drop of African blood in them, but they are the ones representing Africa. You know, you go to a conference that they are saying, quote unquote, African conference, something, something, and you reach there and probably you're the only African there, you know? That, what does that mean? It means that the people that are talking for us, they are not us. They don't even know us. They're there just to create an image of, yes, we are supporting Africa. But the question is, how are they representing us as fashion designers, as fashion enthusiasts, as Africans in general? So that comes as a challenge when it's time for you to design, to produce an outfit, because people know something else. And here you're coming with your idea and they're like, wait, but I thought African design is this. And you're saying it's that, you know? So it's a little bit challenging there. However, when it comes to the opportunities, I would go straight up and say the growing demand for the unique and culturally inspired fashion right now is on our side. So that is an opportunity that we have to capitalize on, because the people are looking for authenticity and we have it. So let us capitalize on that. Let us go ham on it. Let us go on social media. The good thing right now that we are having is that social media has opened up the doors for us to interact with the world, you know. So let us not close ourselves in and just focus on who we are in our little bubbles or our countries or our little societies, communities. Let us look out there and see what does the world have to offer. If you want to be a big fashion brand, why are you trying to compete with the tailor down your street? You know, that doesn't make sense. Take advantage and look at what big brands are doing. Like one of the like our fellow speaker has just said, open up yourself, go to his places, try to design from his hub. Because why? He has contacts with places that may make more benefit for you than anything else, you know. So take advantage of all these things. Do not look at them as a by the way, you know. Take advantage of them. I would also say the other opportunity that we have now is the sustainability part. It is not new for us as Africans. We've been doing a lot of custom-made clothes. Most of us, when we were growing up, on Christmas, your parents make for you a custom-made little dress. So we are not new to this culture of custom making and having a sustainable way of living. What do I mean by that? Not to do a lot of things and just leave clothes that are unworn and fill up our environment with nothing, with nonsense of t-shirts and fabrics that end up, the dyes of our fabrics are really harmful to the environment. So if you can make clothes that only serve you and not to have excess, that will be more beneficial. And we already know this because that is how we've been living. We've been living with custom-made clothes. So it's not something super new and all of that. I would also say the African fashion shows have become an opportunity for all African designers, and we should take advantage of them. Right now, almost every single big city in Europe has an Africa Fashion Week. Yeah, there is Africa Fashion Week Barcelona, Africa Fashion Week Madrid. There is one in Amsterdam. There is I think one in London, which is one of the biggest. There's so many fashion weeks. There is Paris. Please take advantage of it. It's an opportunity. Let's get this thing growing and rolling, basically.
Thank you so much, Winnie. This is very inspiring. And remember, dear fellows, fashion designers in this space, models, the purpose of this conversation is to inspire African fashion designers, specifically in the East Africa. When you say in East Africa, we talk about 8 countries in East Africa, because you have seen fashion is growing up in East Africa, but our fashion designers, they don't really have an idea what sustainability is. So thank you so much, Winnie. I have so many questions to ask you. Let me go to Corby. Corby, as a specialist in the trend forecast, what emerging trends do you see shaping the East African fashion industry in the coming years?
Yes, thank you very much, Celestine. There's various trends, and Winnie just even mentioned a few of them. Looking at sustainability, there's a major trend of alternative fabrics. You know, fabrics that are different to the fabrics we are used to. There's a growing trend in leather, vegan leather made out of byproduct of pineapples, byproduct of cactus, and all of them are fruits that we use a lot in Africa. And the good thing about those alternative fabrics is that first of all, they are quite high end. So producing them, they are mostly used by high end brands. Gucci been working with a company in Mexico that has been making pineapple leather. So we have quite an advantage on that because we have the fruits, first of all, and also it's very good and it's eco-friendly because it's byproduct of the fruit. It's not really, it's something that was going to be waste. It's the peels that they use, not the whole pineapple. So you cut a pineapple, you eat the pineapple, then the peels can be used to make leather. And if those pills are thrown away in the field, you know they create carbon dioxide, which is bad for the environment. So it's a win-win situation. Even banana stems can be used to create fabrics. We have a lot of banana stems, at least in East Africa, either Rwanda, either Uganda, either Tanzania. So alternative fabrics, I would say it's something that is important, something we need to look into, and it's a huge trend. Big brands are willing to pay extra dollar for those type of fabrics. Also, another trend that is growing is the bespoke trend. Uh, can you guys still hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yes, the bespoke trend is growing around the world in terms of sustainability to produce less. Uh, One of the biggest problem we have with the fashion industry right now is fast fashion, as Winnie mentioned. Currently, all those items end up in Africa secondhand, and sometimes we can see in a certain markets like Ghana, 60% of the items that are on the market are secondhand. And the funny thing, 60% again of a secondhand bell, you see bell or what we call Ibaro here in Rwanda, you can find that 60% of the item in that bell are actually waste, items that you cannot even use. So you're going to even sell or use 40% of that bell. So they just throw away or send us waste, basically, to end up in our landfills, which is a huge issue. But that's also an opportunity to see that we need to grow our own industry. It's an opportunity to see that we need to really support our local designers and our local manufacturers to sustain our own market. For example, Rwanda has been able to do it with the ban on secondhand, although that we also got banned from AGOA, an opportunity that was for African designers or African producer to ship product to the US. So the government of the government of the US also banned us from having that opportunity because we refused them to send waste to us. So that decision was actually taken on the East African level, but other country backed up because they wanted to use the opportunity of AGOA, and they backed up. Baranda we stood our ground, and it really helped the local industry. I was at the time working with Minicom, working on the Made in Rwanda policy. Um, it's not perfect. Yes, there's still a lot of things that needs to be addressed. But trends like those ones are going to shape the industry. Policies like those ones are going to really give an opportunity for local manufacturer, local designers to really have a platform to showcase their products. Back in 2017, 2018, also Rwanda created the Made in Rwanda campaign, which was a campaign to give a platform to those local manufacturers and producers to show their product. And currently, although Made in Rwanda is the big brand that doesn't only target fashion, it targets also food processing and other industries. But we have shirts in Rwanda that we literally call Made in Rwanda shirts. So that shows the impact it had on the industry. So trends like those ones, trends in alternative fabrics, trends in policies that are in favor to designers and local manufacturers, and also trends that our market is growing. Uh, Many Africans are moving from low income countries to middle income countries, so which means the consumer capacity to buy is also growing. So that's something we need to take advantage of. I was saying that the Made in Rwanda policy is not a solution to everything. We still have an influx of new clothes that comes from China, which is also an issue. But when you look at numbers, as they say, numbers don't lie. We are now importing more than 243 million US dollar worth of clothes and accessories, textile and shoes every year, and that shows that there's a huge market in Rwanda. You know, there's consumption. We are buying clothes, but what can we do now to 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 tap into that market, to have local designers
Yes,
that are
actually, Corbett, that's the question I was going to ask you. That how can circular economy principles be effectively applied to the fashion industry in Rwanda and broader in East Africa? Because we are focusing on East Africa and Rwanda. Yes. So how is it to you?
the circular economy. Okay, there's sustainability and the circular economy. Circular economy means repair, reuse, recycle, and also there's sustainability, which also brings in things like corporate social responsibility. How do you treat your people? So, in terms of circular economy, we need to build our own systems to make clothes circulate. So, circular economy basically, usually, if I may give a brief definition to our audience, we usually use what we call a linear economy. Linear economy means you take from the earth resources, either cotton or whatever, you make and you waste, you throw away, basically. So that's a linear economy. In a circular economy, you take, you make, you recycle, and you go back to make and recycle and make and recycle. So there's no waste in a circular economy. So for the circular economy, the approaches we can have our own second-hand system. You know, there's people who buy a shirt, wear it 3 times, you know, they already took a picture on social media, they don't want to wear it again. There's somebody else who can buy that shirt on a lesser price. For example, if we look like at our local brands, you know, a brand like House of Tayo that sells a shirt at 75,000 Rwandan francs, there's somebody who want to wear that shirt but cannot afford it. You know, we can adopt a second-hand system, but now that is local, not as taking clothes from Europe that are just waste, but circulate our own product. So in terms of circular economy, there's another option that is there, which is rental. Instead of people, because right now the problem that we have in the world is people are using so much clothes, even way than we used to with the social media. No one wants to wear something 3 times, you know. So a rental system is also something that can be a solution, but it also has some disadvantage because rentals also use a lot of chemicals cleaning up the clothes. It use a lot of carbon dioxide when you talk about logistics, shipping up the clothes. But also we can find solution for those one using bikes. You know, at least for Rwanda, Rwanda is a small country. You know, you can rent clothes and they can be taken back using a bike instead of or even electric vehicles. So rental is another good solution that can reduce the waste and also reduce how much we are buying. Because there's another solution with recycling, but recycling also takes a lot of money. building infrastructure that you need to recycle clothes is quite expensive. But at least there's solutions that are not very much so expensive. Like in Rwanda, we have brands like Uzuri and Y that recycle old tires and use them to make soles for their shoes. Those are solutions that we can adopt in also other countries, and also other brands can see how they can use used clothes or even recycle items to make other products, but also see how we can build those infrastructures that we need in order to be able to recycle clothes. In Africa, we also have a lot of input for raw material, but we don't produce raw material. So if we can see how we can also take advantage of that instead of using crazy logistics, because for example, Benin is one of the biggest cotton producer, but they don't make textile. So they cultivate cotton, they ship it to Asia. Asia make fabrics with them. Then they go back to Asia to buy those fabrics. So you see, it's really crazy. So how can we make our continent, at least talking about East Africa, attractive to investors who can come and invest in those infrastructure we need to create virgin materials, but also to recycle existing material to create new products. I hope that answers the question.
Yes. Dear followers who are in this space, remember, if you have a question, you can type your question in the chat, dedicate to the person who wants to ask a question. Also, by the end, if anybody wants to ask a question direct, you will mute your microphone and then you ask your question. So, I hope you have a good time. We are having the good thing in this space, we're having different fashion designers from Ethiopia, from Kenya, have models from Uganda. So we hope this is going to be bring impact to fashion industry in East Africa. Winnie, why do you think made in China is cheaper than made in Africa?
Why do I think made in China is cheaper than made in Africa?
Let's say made in Uganda. Made in Uganda. If you go to Kampala, you'll find a cloth, a nice dress. We may charge you $50. But if you go to China, that dress may even be $15. So why do you think made in China is cheaper than made in Africa?
I think made in China is cheaper because the way I've been telling you about the fast fashion way of doing things is the fact that these people have a lot of money. So what happens is when you go to produce and you want to produce 1,000 pieces of this sweater, and the other one wants to produce 100,000 pieces of this sweater, the price is going to be drastically lower. Yeah. So if the Chinese are making clothes to throw into Africa, that is over 52 countries, by the way, it's not one country. So that alone, it means they're going to produce millions of only this sweater. Yeah. Now, if you come around as one Ugandan designer and you go to a shop, you want to produce your beautiful blouse that you created, you want to produce, because you have limited resources, you're going to produce less. Now, what happens is that the prices will increase, So production prices always determine how much of cost that should be put. That's the first thing. The second thing, the type of fabrics you are using. Yeah, some fabrics are easier to work with and some fabrics are not easy to work with. Most of the synthetic fabrics, they're much, much easier to work with because, for instance, if you are sewing a fabric that is silk, but the silk is manufactured, it's kind of a polyester kind of fabric. When you're sewing it, it's not as smooth and silky. It doesn't have all the qualities of silk. So when someone is sewing with that, it goes rather smoother. Yeah, when you're working with a fabric that is natural, that is real, 100% the type of fabric you want to use, what happens is that it tends to have different characteristics. Some of these characteristics we are not used to because the world lately has been saturated with a lot of poly fabrics, and that reduces our knowledge of fabrics. But then what happens also is the fact that when you are using poly fabrics or manufactured fabrics, then your price is also lower because the fabric prices are lower. They're not as high. So Chinese or whoever makes the cheap clothes that you're able to buy for 15 and yet the other one is 50 euros, it's because there are these kind of differences. The quality of fabric could be really, really poor. Secondly, their production prices are way cheaper because they are producing at a mass level that individually you could not be able to compete with. Secondly, it could be the costs that they are putting in on labor, because a lot of people cut the costs through labor. They tend to employ cheaper labor so that they can be able to sell their designs at a much cheaper or competitive price, depending on who is saying. And that comes with its own ups and downs. And in this case, if you are competing with them, it tends to be harder. Yeah, basically.
Okay, that makes sense, but I'm not really convinced. But I will be back to that question. Maybe some of our participants
May I add something?
We'll also share something. So, Winnie, can you share some sustainable practice says you have incorporated into your design process and how they align with African fashion traditional or traditions?
Okay. Before I say something, I think Colby wanted to say something.
You are saying Corbe?
Yeah, he wanted to say something.
I wanted to add a little bit on what Winnie just said. By your question, why is it cheaper clothes from China than the clothes from Africa? There's one important factor is that they produce the fabrics locally. So for us, the same amount I'm going to use to transport fabrics from China to here, just fabric, textile, is the same amount that they are going to use to transport finished garments. So me, I'm transporting raw material, they are transporting finished garment. I'm going to bring that material here in Rwanda and add production costs, you know? And again, the production also comes in the economic of scale that Winnie just mentioned. I'm going to maybe produce 10 pieces, while then they are producing 100,000 pieces. So, and also I'm going to add tax on those textile. I'm going to add branding, and all those things factor in. So I'm shipping in raw material. That's why I'm emphasizing on industrialization of fabrics, because without raw material, it's very hard to compete on price. And also, the good thing is that we have the inputs that are needed for those raw material. We grow mulberry trees that are used to feed the worms that create silk. We really have a good climate for that. You know, we have cotton. We have a lot of cattle that can be used for leather. So we have all the inputs that are required, but we don't have the infrastructure to change those inputs into textile and raw material. So that is also a big issue, is that we cannot, it's very hard to compete when we are buying the fabrics where they are producing the finished garments.
Okay, so we now can go ahead. Do you want me to rephrase the question, or you got the question?
No, I have it. Okay, so about sustainability and how I am involving it in my brand.
Yes.
So basically, one of the main things that you will read about us is that we mainly focus on custom made. What does that mean? It means that we are not going to overproduce. So we are not going to have leftovers, you know, because usually you produce thousands of t-shirts and you sell maybe 200, and then the rest, where does it go? That's the question. So as we're in Chirabo, we only produce what is going to be consumed. So your dress, if you ask us for a dress, it's not yet made. The moment you press in your order, that is when your dress is made. So our clothes are all made by order. We do not produce anything that we are not going to be selling. That is the first thing. The second thing, we tend to not follow trends. We only do designs based on what our design wish is at the moment. So the plan is to always create timeless pieces that you do not put a tag on and be like, oh, this was the trend for 2020. No, our designs, we base them on what we are feeling, what is inspiring us at the moment. That is what we create. We try to not be influenced by what is trending. Secondly, because we are doing custom made, we obviously and automatically fall into what is called the slow fashion production. We prioritize quality over quantity, and that is why we do custom made as well, is to go in the journey of slow fashion and not overproduce what is unnecessary. Like Colby also mentioned, we also do renting. We rent a lot of our clothes, because when you check our website or our social medias, you will see that most of our dresses are not the everyday dress. We do not really do things that you can wear to go on the streets and do, you know, have a coffee with a friend. Most of our clothes are a little bit elevated than your everyday dress. So you have to have a particular occasion that you want to go to. Of course, lately we've been trying to involve things that you can incorporate with your everyday clothes. Like for instance, with sweaters, you put it on to go out to have a coffee or to just take a stroll. It doesn't matter. But we tend to rent our clothes because they are more gowns and more of that kind of level that you need to either be going to the red carpet event, or most of our clients are clients that are going for events generally. So and they do not want to buy a new dress, like how Colby was saying. A lot of people, they want to wear a dress, but they do not really want to commit to buying it. So there is also untapped market over there, and it's one of the markets that we are capitalizing on. So we rent our clothes, and a lot of the people that you've seen in our clothes, which usually our clients are super private, so we do not tend to post a lot of our clients, unless those who want to be posted, but majority of our clients don't want to be posted, but they do not want to wear the same outfit over and over again. So they tend to rent our outfits out, and it works for us because we make the money, and then when we dry clean it, it's ready for another person and repairs and everything, and it's always a fraction of the cost to what they would have paid for buying an entire new outfit. We also incorporate eco-friendly packaging when we are sending our clothes. So we do not use plastics. We tend to use paper fabrics, because paper fabrics, they can degrade. They do not stay around forever. So that is one of the things we do to reduce the plastic wastes in the environment. The other thing, we source our fabrics locally. We buy from people around us. And what does that mean? It means that we are reducing what we call the carbon footprint in transport. And that helps to put us at a point where we can say we are sustainable. And we have also been incorporating social sustainability. And I think it's one of the things that some of the big brands are incorporating, and we also have to pay attention to it as Africans. Social sustainability for us is Wine Chirabo Social, where we give back to society. It's very important to give back to people that are supporting you in whatever way you know how to. For us, we as Wine Chirabo Social, in that way, we support Ugandan girls to go to school, and also we work with different social non-profit organizations to support Ugandans, and we've been working with Nzuri Daima. Nzuri Daima is based in South Sudan and Uganda as well. We've been working with Weko Uganda as well, and these ones, they work with girls in central Uganda. And with these kind of people, what they do is that they help to sensitize the people that we serve. The people need to know, who are you? What are you when it comes to the lower people? Do you ignore them? Are you part of us? Are you not? These kind of things, they're not only are they marketing strategies, which they are also a point of putting you out there as someone that is socially connected with the people that you serve. We also, when we are doing our designs, we tend to do what we call zero waste pattern cutting. And what does that mean is that you design your outfits, you put it on the computer, and then you kind of manage how you are going to lay out your patterns. For instance, when you go to your Photoshop or all these softwares, you determine if I have 2 meters of fabric and I want to cut this dress, how should I lay the patterns so that I do not waste more fabric than I need? So what happens? When I go to buy fabrics, I know exactly the amount I need and how I'm going to be laying down my patterns. These and so many other things, sourcing locally, so many local productions so that you work with the people around you. Yeah, basically.
Okay, so we need, before I go back to Colby, and also with our people in this space, we're supposed to be with Kabano Franco, who is a former model from Rwanda, who has been done a lot in the modeling industry. We cannot talk about fashion without talking models, because models, you are the ones who, after the correction is done, you are the one who showcase that. So we need mention the fashion shows. That is another platform that is African fashion. I mean, East African fashion designers should also look into it. So we need there now. We find in East Africa, even in Africa, we find it there. These fashion designers, young upcoming fashion designers, they have so many ideas. You meet some of them, they use second hands. They cut them and they make something, then they call it a very good collection. Some they talk about sustainability. Then you find sustainability, some fashion designer feel environmental. To you, what can you share to them? What can you give them? Like, you can be collective, you can be more creativity, and this is how you can do, because you find I've been in some events, you find someone is mixing different colors. They do, then after I was trying to take water, you find one fabric, you put so many fabrics together, but one of them is cheaper. When you wash it, there is released colors. So then you find these upcoming fashion designers, they're still struggling to cooperate with sustainability. Some of them feel like I would go take second hands, I will do as much as I can. So what can you share with them for them to understand what is this sustainable fashion? I've also called you can also talk on that, but you can start.
Okay. To start, I would say I understand sustainability can be really unsustainable in terms of economics, because you have to invest a certain amount of either time or money in a way. But my advice would be, because you are up and coming, I would think you do not have enough or a lot of resources available. You will have maybe a little bit of savings here and there, but I will advise you to invest more in the time. Let your time be the capital that you invest. What does that mean? At the beginning, I mentioned looking at your competition. Who are you competing with? Do you have a dream? Do you have a desire? And if you have a dream, what does that dream tell you? It tells you that you want to be a local designer, or does it tell you you want to go on international level? Now, if your dream says you want to go on an international level, advice from me will be, look at who are the people that are running the international scene. What are they doing? How are they incorporating certain things? Then that will help you to understand, like, oh, okay, if I am competing with Balenciaga, for example, what is he doing? Oh, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's doing that. And I'm not saying copy what Balenciaga is doing. I'm saying know who your competition is. The only way you are able or you will be able to compete at an international level is you knowing the people you're competing with. You cannot say you are going to be competing with an architect when you've never been in an architect school, for example. So go into that school and educate yourself. Nowadays, there is a lot of information. If you go on YouTube, for example, and you type in how to make buttonholes, you will find a way to make buttonholes, my friend. So there is no excuse in that sense. You invest a little bit of money in data, go on YouTube, do your research, know who is trending, what are they doing, what am I doing that is different from them, okay? And if it's different, is it different enough and unique enough to put me at their level? Can I compete with them? If I presented my project to an investor, will they see potential in this project? Yeah. And to see potential in your project doesn't mean that if someone says no the first time, it's not a good project. It might mean you need to go back and revise and review your work. You know, not Rome wasn't built in one day, so let us try to pay attention to that. My advice then will be stay tuned to your vision. Stay in tune with your vision, whatever that looks like. Be true to it and know your client. Yeah. If your client is the kind of woman that loves to go out on weekends to party, design for that. If your client is the type of woman that prefers to be at home, quiet, and then every time to time go out with a family and take a glass of wine, what kind of clothes does that woman buy? What are the brands that this woman goes to? These things are super, super important. Number two, try to build a strong brand identity. What does that look like? When I see your design, will I know that I'm looking at your work? Or am I going to look at your work and think, it could be anyone. I don't know. It could be anyone. And there are a lot of these designers in Africa. A lot. Like when you go on pages of people that say they are fashion designers, if you put their design and bring another one and another one from all different designers, 10 of them, put them together, they look the same. Why? We do not have a strong brand identity. Have something that makes you stand out, that if you're sick and you send your sister, you send your PR, your brand manager to represent you at a runway, the people will see your work and they'll be like, oh, that's a wine travel. That's a wine travel. And they will even send you a message and say, oh, you didn't come to the runway, but I saw your designs. What does that mean? You create a stamp on the industry that the people will remember you the moment they see your work. It has to stand out. It has to. And do not stop trying. Number three, be persistence. Persistence. That is what makes you be what you want to be. And I know it's cliche. A lot of people have said these things before, and you've had it 20 million times probably before I even said it. But if you do something, it doesn't happen immediately. So what does that mean? You have to keep on pushing. Today, try. And if it doesn't work, wake up tomorrow, try again. And if it doesn't work, wake up the next day and try again. The only way this happens is because you already know what your vision looks like. If you are following someone else's vision, of course, it's going to be boring at the end of the day. It's like, what am I doing here? You know, but if it's your vision and this is what you've always wanted, it's going to be easy for you to wake up in the morning and keep being persistent and you persevere with it, you know. What else could I say? Leverage on social media. Social media, I promise you, it is your way out. I didn't know who Celestine was until social media happened. Yeah, I didn't know who Colby was until social media happened.
That is true. That is true.
Exactly. So take advantage of these things. Yes, take advantage of these things. And when there are forums, fashion forums or anything, if you're not a fashion designer and you are just an enthusiast, you just love to know about fashion, maybe who knows, in the future you're going to be a fashion journalist. Go into these things, educate yourself. Yeah, make contacts, make valuable contacts. Don't make contacts because you have the same nightlife desires. Make contacts because they are going to push your vision much, much further. Okay. And with this, I think you're ready. You are ready to attack the world and conquer and be the next big thing that we'll see in the fashion industry. And if you are trying to mix your fabrics and one is bad quality, but the other one is good quality, I understand. We all started from there trying to build up, and it's called research. Just research the fabrics, study fabrics, and know which fabrics go with what. That is why I said use your money correctly, invest in data, and watch YouTube videos that will educate you about different types of fabrics and how to incorporate them, how to sew them. All of this knowledge is available anywhere. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That is really help. I hope everyone here is still enjoying. Remember, if you have a question, if you want to say something, you can raise your hand. We'll find time for you. Mr. Kolb, what initiatives or educational programs do you believe are crucial for elevating the quality and the craftsmanship of East African fashion?
Thank you very much. Maybe I wanna add a little bit on what Winnie said before going to that question. For a young designer, as she mentioned, you have to understand what is your target market, because it's very hard to sustain our market if we all do small production, because we have a huge population. Africa has a growing population. So we need to also see how mass brand can also be sustainable, because there's a difference between mass brand and fast brand. Mass, it means they are producing for a huge pool of people. Fast, it means they're producing so many times, so many things. As she mentioned, brands like Zara that release a collection every week. But we also need brands that can be mass brands in Africa that can really take advantage of the population we have and actually make money. At the end of the day, it's not like the whole world will be sustainable in a day or in a week. We're seeing a lot of greenwashing. H&M released a collection, and they say, okay, bring your old clothes, then we'll give you a card that you use to buy new clothes. That's not sustainable. That's just making you buy more clothes from them. And they'll take those clothes, go recycle them, and bring them again, and you buy them, or maybe not even recycle them, send them to Africa. So we need to also be smart, build businesses that are going to really sustain our continent, that are really going to compete with those international brands. And sometimes we might not even have to produce on the continent, because there's such a thing as made on the continent, but we also need brands from the continent. For example, the Apple or iPhone, when you see it represent America, iPhone are not made in America, they're made in China. It's written on it, but it still represent a brand from America. When you're drinking Coca-Cola, you feel like you're drinking an American brand. The Coca-Cola I'm drinking is made in Rwanda, is being produced in Rwanda. So building those brands that also represent Africa, in terms of, I think we really need some mass brand that can really take advantage of this market. For young designers, now, if you're targeting that type of market, if you're not thinking about doing luxury item or small production item, how can you be now sustainable in that arena? You have to look at what type of fabrics are you using? Is it organic fabrics that can be biodegradable? Is it even if you use synthetic fabric and don't mix it with natural fabric, it's also okay, because 100% polyester can be recycled. But if it's a blended fabric that is 70% cotton, 30% polyester, that cannot be recycled. So we also have to look at the fabric we are using, if it's organic or if it's recyclable. We have to look at the traceability. What's the whole story behind that fabric? From the person who cultivated that cotton, how can you trace that fabric? How can you use minimal water? Because water is one of the biggest issue. For example, we all of us wear jeans. Uh, can you imagine that one pair of jeans can take up to 1,500 liters of water to be produced? That's the equivalent of amount of water that a human can drink in 2 years, and a human who drinks 3 liters per day, and for people who drink 1 liters, it's a lot of years. So yeah, that's a big issue. That's something you need to take account of. How can you use minimal water if you are into producing for mass? How much chemicals do you use in your production? Again, going back to jeans, jeans take so much chemicals in the dyeing process. There's other options to dye using even laser etching machines. Social responsibility. How do you treat your manufacturers, or if you are working with other manufacturers in China or in Bangladesh, go and check how do they treat their employees, how much are they paying their employees, and also last but not least, how can you reduce your carbon footprint? Try to produce locally, try to produce with facilities that are close to you. We have now big facilities in Africa, in Ethiopia, in Kenya that can produce for mass brand. You don't need to go to China now to find those facilities. So going back to the second question, education. Yes, awareness is important because some of the brands in Africa that are even sustainable don't know that they are sustainable. Winnie talked about having a strong brand identity. You know, Storytelling is very important in the fashion industry. How do you present your clothes? How do you say your story? So we need to educate our designers in really brand identity, in really putting their image in front, and if they are sustainable, to make sure they highlight it in whatever marketing material they have, in whatever communication they are putting out there, if they're on social media, to really push showing that they are sustainable. And also, we need to educate them about sustainability just in general, for them to know what do you call sustainable? How do you call yourself sustainable? We need to educate them also about certification that are on the market that can help them to really, mostly for designers who want to export to Europe, the certification like Cradle to Cradle, there's B Corp certification. All those certification can help them to really present their product and also be recognized on the international market. Sometimes those certifications are very hard to acquire, very expensive, and the process is tedious. But that's why we have entities like Kuza and other entities that are willing to help designers throughout that process, applying for those certification and to really be recognized as certified sustainable brands. The other thing that we can do is also to educate in on the side of production, because a lot of the designing process is very important, because sustainability starts at the designing process. When you're taking your pencil and your paper and you're designing a collection, you have to think about sustainability right away, because you have to think about what type of zip you're going to use, what type of buttons you're going to use, what type of fabric you're going to use. It's done at that process. So sustainability starts at the designing process. But most of the carbon emission is done on the production process. So we need to also educate manufacturers in how they can be sustainable, how they can use less water. For example, going back to the example of jeans, uh, fading a jean, when jeans are produced, they don't look like the jean Winnie is wearing. It doesn't look like that. It look dark blue. So the process of bleaching it and turning it to get that color is crazy. It uses so much water, really crazy. So there are solutions right now that they use laser machines to really remove some of the color, and it's more sustainable. It's used less water. So how can we also um, teach manufacturers or even push them using policy to push them to use more sustainable practices in their production process, and even educate the consumers, because we're not going to only educate the designers and the manufacturers. We need to educate the consumer, because the simplest rule of business is supply and demand. You supply what the consumers are asking. If consumers ask for more sustainable items, ask for more for the companies that are producing those items to be more socially responsible, the producers and the brands and the companies are going to do that. So we need to also educate consumers on buying sustainable, on being also conscious on their spending and also their waste, to make sure they try to use their government as long as possible. So yeah, I think in education, those are the some of the area we need to tap in. And if we can do that as soon as possible, it can really have a huge impact on the industry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Korb. Before we continue, is anybody, is Franco checked in yet? Because I don't see Franco in, but we would like to hear in terms of modeling, because many models, they ended up become fashion designer. I have, since I started in 2013, I have had many models. They start as model, then they become fashion designer. So I think it's very important as well for models to know and understand sustainable or sustainability in fashion, because at the end of the day, it's what goes around, it comes around. So it's still with them. So if anybody wants to talk anything about models in East Africa, please, you are most welcome. And again, thank you everyone who is in. I don't read all the names, but maybe by then we can take the pictures. So Winnie, if some of people who are in the group, they already know you, some of they don't know you, but you are a superstar. As an award-winning designer and an African woman entrepreneur, you already shared advice, but what advice would you give to emerging East African fashion entrepreneurs looking to make their mark on the industry? You mentioned, I meet so many fashion designers in my podcast. When I ask some of the question, what's your dream fashion weeks? Most of them, they talk about Paris Fashion Week, New York, London. So to you, you have already there. You were there in Europe. You mentioned how the competition is very high. So what advice will you give these East African and the African fashion designers in general who are looking for big stake? Because if you want to be on New York Fashion Week, you have to have very unique collection and very designed. So what advice will you give those who are looking for big stake, who are looking for big dreams? Because you have been there. By the way, how many hours do you have? 10, 20?
Oh boy. No, I don't have like a collection, but I've been honored to have collected awards, and also being mentioned in big media houses. For instance, we were nominated for the top 40 under 40 in New Vision Uganda, which is the leading newspaper in Uganda. So we were nominated there as some of the most influential young people in the country. We were also mentioned in African Report, which is a Nigerian magazine, and it has its its headquarters in France. And we were named as one of the 20 young African creatives to know. We've been featured on Fashion United magazine, which is a worldwide known fashion magazine. We've been featured on Spanish national TV, Catalan national TV, Urban Television Uganda, Vanity Teens. It's been yeah. If we sit here to mention accolades, we would be here for a while. But how can you put yourself out there as a fashion designer and be at that level to compete on the fashion runways that you want to be on? My advice would be, again, I go back to my words, is keep your eye out. Look at what is happening. You cannot say you're going to compete on the world market when you don't even know what the world market is looking like. What are you going to compete? Literally. Number two, if I have seen a lot of people, including models, sending me emails saying, hey, I would like to work with you, and designers that are saying, hey, can you tell me what I'm supposed to do to put my mark on the market? And my thing is, when I visit your platform, your social medias, or your website, the standard that it gives, sweetheart, you need to put your best foot forward if you're going to compete on a global market. You cannot go and use whatever backdrop you want and take a photo and you call it a fashion photo. Sweetheart, that is not how the global market works. It is not. You go and look at Barmain, look at their photos. They are working with the biggest celebrities. Yeah. And that is the person you want to compete.
Yes. We need, let me interrupt you so we can take it all together. The other African fashion designers who design a collection, then you will tag New York Fashion Week, London Fashion. Though, like, you can tag them. Every new collection, you tag them. So also, you can also say, why do you tag them? Is it worthy? Is it professional? Is it bring an impact? Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. So with that being said, it is important to tag people. It is a good thing. However, you should be ready. You know, there is a time and there is a season for everything. And when your time is right, when you tag the people, they will see your work and they will relate. I personally do not tag people in my photos or videos that are not featuring in that particular project. Because, I mean, if I did not work with you on a project, why are you tagging me? We have to consider that these people, they are big. It's not a one-person show that they're just seated there waiting to see who has tagged me. Let me see their work. And if they have people that are working in the back on the social media platforms, these people are looking for a particular kind of person. The question is, are you that particular kind of person? You know, so if you check your website and when you look at it and you show it to several different people, they all are just like, oh, it's good. Maybe you should go back and revise it because that doesn't cut it. Good does not cut an international market. Excellency, that is what you should aim for. And I know that is hard. We all have things to do. Some of us are working, I don't know how many jobs. Others, you're students and you're trying to have a side hustle. It doesn't matter. Yeah. When Gucci is designing, they are not thinking about if you have 3 jobs and you want to compete with them. And you're tagging Africa Fashion Week London. This is a very big fashion show on the global level for every African designer. And if you want to compete with them and you're tagging, they're looking at your work and they're looking at all the other big brands. They're looking at David Tal from South Africa, huge. Ayo from Nigeria, huge. These are the people you're competing with, and they're selling on a global level. Are you ready to compete with that? If your answer is yes, can you start working in that direction? Yeah. It's not about just saying it with your mouth. Like, yeah, I'm ready to conquer the world with my fashion. Da, 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 da. That is beautiful. Kudos to you. However, where is the work? Where is the work? Because that is what defends what you're saying, not what you're saying. What you're saying defends nothing. What you put out for us to look at when you're tagging us, excuse me, when you're tagging us and all, that is what we're looking at. How good is it? Can it compete? Can it not? If it can compete, tag. Number one thing that though I must ask is instead of tagging, always send a private message. An email is always professional. Send an email and say, hey, I would like to participate in Africa Fashion Week. I don't know, Madrid. How can I be part of it? And they will send you the credentials and everything. These people work in a structured manner. Yeah, you cannot just put a like or comment and say things on the comment section. That is not professional. No one is going to take you serious when you're doing things that a non-elevated person is doing. Start thinking big and do things in a bigger way, just the way you want to be viewed. No television is going to call you for an interview when you do not match the image that they are trying to sell. Yeah. If you are selling things downtown, yeah, but when someone goes to your Instagram or to your website, they look at your work and they're like, oh, wow, they have marketing strategy. I promise you, they're going to call that person that doesn't even design their own work. They'll call that person, interview them before they call you, who is doing everything from scratch. So pay attention to the kind of image you're giving. Because honestly, I have met so many people that have told me, Winnie, I love your image. I love how you present your image. But what is that? It is, I have known who my customer is, the woman that wants to put on my dress. I promise you, if I put a mediocre design out and a mediocre photograph and a backdrop that looks whatever, that woman is not going to buy that dress. Contrarily, she's not even going to come back to my brand. She's going to look for a brand that has the image that they want. So, sweetheart, that is my advice for you. If you want to compete on a global level, start thinking in a global perspective. Local is beautiful. Use that for fabric sourcing, use that for production, use that for collaboration, which is also another thing that all upcoming designers should pay attention to. Collaborate, collaborate, collaborate. Find, what are they called? Influencers that represent the image that you're wanting to go for and work with them. Let them push you forward. You don't have all the numbers. If you have 1,000 followers, if you post a photo, you're posting for the 1,000 followers. If you collaborate with an influencer who has 1,000, now you are selling to 2,000 people, not to 1,000. If you collaborate now with also another photographer that is having 1,000 more, those are 3,000. I think the math is easy there. There is nothing more to say with that. Collaborate, collaborate, collaborate. Connect with a lot of people that represent the brand you're trying to send. Remember, brand identity. That is the key. Do not just collaborate with someone that is dancing one cha-cha dance and you are trying to sell Versace style. Sweetheart, the math is not mathing in that sense. Okay, so think with that and think global. Identity and global. That is my advice.
Win, thank you so much. Even me, I'm so inspired. I'm so inspired. Thank you. I hope others are inspired. There are new man from Uganda who asked the question. Before we respond to the question of new man, let me ask close to the last question to Kolb. Mr. Kolb, in your experience, what are the most effective strategies for changing international perceptions about African fashion and promoting its value on the global market?
I think some of them already Winnie touched upon them. First of all, it's quality. You know, if you are trying to change the perspective of a local brand and try to sell on international markets, you need to adhere to quality. You need to know, again, certification that are there. You have to know about ISO standards because you're not going to sell in Europe if you don't have ISO certificates for clothing. Understand all the labeling, it's important to put the right labeling, identify the country of origin, what is your fabric made of, and all that kind of things. So that is important to adhere to international quality standards. Second is branding, which touch again on what Winnie was talking about brand identity. How do you brand your company? What message are you trying to convey? And who's your target market? Because you have to talk the same language as your target customer. If I'm doing a streetwear brand and I'm trying to target young youth who likes hip hop and skateboarding, put that in your marketing material. Show the image of the person you're trying to sell to or who they are trying to become. If you're creating a luxury brand don't sell product, they sell a dream. It has nothing to do with product. Yes, some of the luxury brand has high quality and whatever, but it's all about selling the dream. If somebody is dreaming about this, becoming this person or that person, put that in your marketing material. Design a logo that talks to your audience. Use quality content. Social media is very important right now. So don't just take photos with your phone. Try to find a professional photographer, prepare a good background, a good environment, work with the right model that convey the right message you're trying to show to your customer, and that will go. Also understand the needs of that market you're trying to enter, because the market in the US is not the same as the market in Europe. Even Europe is huge. The market in Italy is different to the market in Spain. So understand the local tendencies of the market you're trying to enter. And also, I like to say that I think it will also answers the question of Newman, if that's the one you mentioned. Uh, let's not just say Africa fashion industry. Let's just say fashion industry. Let's look how we can enter the global industry and be recognized not as just African brands, but as just brands. Um, the founder of Asante, one of the biggest brand here in Rwanda that are selling internationally. She's selling in New York, has stockists in France, has a store in London, has a store in Johannesburg. Uh, she always liked to say, uh, we need to be recognized on the international scene as the way they recognize other brand. You know, uh, by show of hands, how many people here knows that Martin Margiela is from Belgium? Really, no one. It's known as an international brand. Some of these brands, we don't even know the origins of them because they are on international scene. It's important when the country of origin has something to do with maybe manufacturing. Of course, the shoes from Italy is going to brand it as made in Italy. That is important, but it's not limited to that. It's beyond that. It's bigger than that. So we need to also create brands that convey that message. Um, yes, we need to also use our local identity, but let's also be inspired by what the world is giving. Right now the whole world is connected. We are like one village. I might have information on something that is happening in New York before somebody who's actually in New York. So information is flowing fast. So let's also jump on that train, because if that train leaves the station, we are left behind. So let's try to catch up. Let's try to brand our our fashion houses as international fashion houses and use systems that are used by those international fashion houses. By systems, I mean the way you convey your message, the way you brand your company, the way you interact with your customer. Because I send I liked your product on Instagram. I send you a message. Then you reply to me after 3 weeks. I've used that money. I'm not even interested in that product anymore. Do you have somebody who's taking care of that? You don't need to be the one doing that. You have friends, work with your friends. Tell one of your friends you will be managing my social media because maybe right now I'm I'm stressed with production. We have to be professional. We have to know also everything else that works behind. You have to do your accounting. You cannot run a business if you don't do your accounting and know how much you selling, how much you're spending on your production. How do you do your pricing right? Again, if you cannot do it yourself, hire somebody to do it. you know we have to know everything that works behind. You have to understand how logistic works. How can I have a good deal with DHL if I have to ship products in and out? We have to understand that fashion is, yes, creative art is passion, but it's also a business. So if you want to run it as a business, also be a businessman. As Jay-Z say, I'm not a businessman, I'm a business man. So saying he's
Or
a
a
business,
business, or a business woman. No.
or a businesswoman, a business person. I like that. Yeah, thank you guys.
So thank you very much, everyone. And
Before
Winnie,
before I go,
yes,
before I
yes,
go,
yes.
I want to see if he's still here. I would like to introduce you, Bruce Akindi, my co-founder. He's also on the call. Bruce, can you say hi to everyone here? Hello, Bruce. Okay, I think he's off for a bit. Yeah,
Yeah,
so he's
we still allowed. We still
on.
have like almost we have a 15 minutes. So within 15 minutes, we can give him a couple of minutes. So I also don't leave because we'll ask you the last message you send it to fashion lovers and fashion enthusiasts. So Winnie, in your version, this question: is there a difference between African fashion industry and international fashion industry? Or are we one under the same umbrella? That is the question from Newman from Ghana.
Okay, I think there is no difference. I think there is no difference. The difference is in your mind. Whatever you decide that is different is different. Yeah. Just like Colby just said, when Valentino makes his bags in Italy and they say made in Italy, aren't they selling in Dubai? Yes? Or are they not in South Africa? They're everywhere. They're in the US as well. So it's having a label of where it's made from does not automatically mean that that is where it has to stay. All of that is determined by how you perceive your product. If you think your product, the biggest it can be, is an African product, that is what it is. But there is no big difference. Besides the obvious, of course, there are always differences. Like geographical location will determine so much of how you should characterize your work. For instance, if you are staying in Finland, it is super cold. So the kind of outfits I'll be making here, if I were there, they will not work. Why? Because there it's cold. And here in Spain, it's a little bit much warmer than it is in Finland. So I'll have to create a totally different touch on my work. When we talk about African prints, you could talk about the colors and the prints and the vibrancy and all of that. That could be a difference. But however, that does not automatically delete you or remove you from the global market. You are capable to compete at whatever level you want to compete at. The only question is, are you the man for the show or are you the woman for the show? And if you are, show your cards. Put your cards on the table and let the world be the judge. But do not limit yourself, sweetheart. Don't limit yourself. I promise, the moment you limit yourself, that's the end of your brand. Think
Okay.
big, go big.
That's awesome. So another question that came to you. We apologize to everyone. We supposed to have a Cabano Franco to talk about models. I know, guys, you feel like we left you behind. Maybe next time we'll find the time to talk more about modeling. Winnie, can you ask the question? The gentleman is asking. It's called DBB Robert. Have you taken any model from Uganda with you to ALO? That's what he's asking, because he has the modeling guardians and he supports models in Rwanda. So he's talking on behalf of models. He's asking what models are benefiting from here, which I can answer. You are getting to understand how the market works and how the fashion industry works. But he's asking you if you are supporting Ugandan fashion models, and if you are taking some to Europe, they say for your photo shoot, do you cooperate with Ugandan models? Yes.
I haven't really taken any Ugandans from Uganda to Europe, because at the end of the day, that depends on the agency you're working with and how much they are willing to organize and send you out there and book you shows. That all depends on the agency you're working with. That does not depend generally on a designer. However, while I travel every time to time back to Uganda, back home, I always work with Ugandan models. If you check my website, you'll see that I have worked with a couple of Ugandan models and their names are listed there. Like I say, whoever I work with, I always list them down. But when it comes to models traveling to Europe and everything, unfortunately, Franco is not here to help you out with that part, but it's usually the work of the modeling agency to book you these kind of shows. As a fashion designer, I contact a modeling agency and I ask, hey, do you have this particular thing that I'm looking for, a lady that is this size and like that, and all of the dimensions I want? And they provide to me what they have. So basically, it's never a responsibility of a fashion house to select, unless you're a big thing and you're trending and stuff and people want to ride onto it, then they will say like, oh yeah, come on too, jump onto our boat and sell us out, you know. But usually the fashion brands do not hire models. They hire the agency. That is why when you contact me, I'll ask you, who are you working with as an agency, and tell them to send me your portfolio. Because if I ask you to send me your photos, you're gonna send me one when you're like this, sending with a photo of a selfie. That is not professional. So if you're a model, my advice is please find a modeling agency. That is how you step forward. Find a modeling agency, and they will be the ones to do the marketing for you. Yep.
Thank you so much. So, Mr. Korub, Windy asked you, Kuza Africa, what is supporting a fashion designer? Are there any program you have for models? That's what you want to know. So if you have event, you can work with them.
Yes, thank you very much. Currently, we have no program that is dedicated to to models. But there's a lot of agencies here in Rwanda that are supporting models as well. Maybe they can reach out to us. We can make connections. We can connect to them. We work with most of those agencies when we organize fashion shows. But in terms of, let's say, our three pillars, which is education, infrastructure, and access to funding, we don't do like trainings for models, not yet. It's not something that we are against. We can still do it at some point. But for currently, we are focusing on fashion designers and manufacturers. But we are open to communicate with who asked the question. Let me check in the chat. I'm going to drop our website and also our email. They can reach out to us and we can connect them with the agencies we are working with.
Thank you so much. New men from Uganda, you can unmute yourself and you ask your question, what you wanted to say. And in the meanwhile, thank you everyone. I hope it will be Joanna Lasberg. There is a fashion study 23 GPS, Joanna Siladel, Umotonwase, Florence, Nilto Bonacci, Dr. Otiano from Kenya. There is a Kins, Newman Jackson. So, and everyone who is in a space, we have a few minutes left. Newman, the floor is yours. Then if anybody wants to say something, to add anything, you can. Then after, we will give 2 minutes, 1 minute to each speaker so they can conclude for us today. In the meanwhile, if you have any question, you want to connect to any person you see here, I have met a lot of people asking me, want to meet Winnie. I meet a lot of younger African women for sure from me. Like, can we see her? Can we see her? So, and I'm glad you, Kuza in Rwanda, like a Windy Robert is going to benefit from. So anybody who wants to say something with our guest, relative disability, please, you go ahead, you raise your hand, we give you 1 minute to say. So Newman, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for having me and my team on this platform. The reason why I asked the question, the difference between African industry and international, I believe we here on this platform are all Africans. I don't think there's any international person in this platform. So the focus was not how I asked the question. The mentality should focus on or should be African industry, regardless of the global scale. We are here having a meeting on how to impact or develop and make Africa very beautiful and then very sustainable for the international people to actually have interest with us. Us trying to, as the model arts, want to actually fly to Europe. I believe we are here trying to make any model in Europe fly to Africa instead. So we are trying to make the international industry think Africa to be the global industry, because I believe Africa for the even the whereby it is we who are owning the industry. So we as Africans here in this meeting are trying to find a way to develop fashion, to use fashion to develop Africa so that it will create that kind of awareness for the international market to have their focus on coming or investing in Africa. Honestly, I would like to travel and show my works to the African fashion industry, but then it will be my wish for me to be here, for them to come instead of me going there. So I think the focus we are going to Africa with the little power we have as fashion designers and also as developers. I don't know if I'm getting my point straight.
Yeah, I think you're getting your point straight. Let's give you Winnie. Newman, thank you very much with your team. We appreciate you guys. You are joining us here. And you are saying you're from Uganda?
Yes, I'm from Ghana, West Africa.
Yeah. Yes, Africa, you know, we are all one. So Winnie, what views you have on Newman's idea? I think his point is make a sense. Yeah, it's make a sense. What point do you have on his views? Thank you, Newman.
Newman, I totally understand what you're saying, and it's like having a child. If you're a parent, one of the things you want for your kid is to do amazingly well. You're not busy trying to pray for the kids, the neighbors' kids, to be the ones to do well. You're praying for your own. So I understand, like, being an African and you want your work to be at the forefront of the global market. But the only way that we can make these people come down to Africa is for us to show them that, hey, we have something that is bigger. That is why we are saying, when you are going to be competing, when you are going to be presenting your work, it doesn't even have to be in Africa Fashion Week, London or Madrid or anywhere else. It could be in Lagos. It could be wherever you want it to be. Yeah. But the question is, for instance, one of my favorite designer is Kaijuka Abbas of Kai Divo Designs, is a Ugandan designer. His work is immaculate. When he does his runways, you can see how much he's passionate about the work he's doing. So it's not really about a thing of not taking the African market somewhere or taking it somewhere. It's more a thing of personal brand. Like, who do you want your brand to be? Do you want your brand to be the one that invites the people from the Western countries into Africa? If it's so, what are you doing to make them come to Africa? One of the things we do as Wainsirabo Shosho is that we take teachers from here and they go to Uganda to do an exchange program. And how do they get to know about Wainsirabo Shosho? Through us as Wainsirabo, the fashion brand. Okay, so for us to take people there and all of this, they have to first understand the whole idea behind. And the only way they can know the idea behind is if they connect with the idea. If you're talking about food and I'm not a food enthusiast, I'm not going to care. Actually, I'm not even going to listen, But if you're talking about something that I'm interested in, I will give 2 ears and I will see how to be part of it. That is what happens. If you want people to join your club, you have to present your club to them. Okay, you cannot be like, oh, we have a football team and we're going to play from inside our fenced home, and yeah, we are going to be the biggest in the world. No, you're not going to be the biggest in the world. And it's rudely true. You are not going to be the biggest in the world, because besides you and the people inside that fence that you're playing football with, no one else knows that you as a football team even exist. No one knows. It's only you that are playing. But if you take that game from your fence and take it outside the fence and play on the street, the neighbors are going to know, like, oh, these people have a match here, and they will be standing with their balconies watching. And before you know, you will be too many that the neighborhood will be like, oh, it's so noisy. Take it to a pitch, and you go to a football pitch. And from there, you'll grow out of it, and you'll go to an international stadium. And like this is how you say, hey, we are putting a mark on this industry. Okay? I hope I answered.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, and I hope Newman you get. So, Kobe, do you have sorry, go ahead.
I said she did perfectly as expected. She answered my question.
Okay.
Yeah, she did.
All right, Kobe. Just 30 seconds. Say bye to us and tell us if you have an event, anything you want to share about Kuza Africa. We see the website and information. But before we go, is anybody else who wants to say something? So we make sure everyone who wants to have 1 minute, 30 seconds, you say something. So if you know one, Korube, take a few seconds. Anything you think we can, and if you want to say the last word as well, then the rest we can see you next time. But it looks like we really need to do more and more events like this, focusing on Africa, so you can really dig deeper.
Thank you very much, Celestine. Let me just start by thanking you and your platform. I believe that's the only platform, at least that I know in Rwanda, or by a Rwandese person, that really gives all the information about the fashion industry. You really are the Vogue of East Africa, and we appreciate the work you're doing. Again, nice meeting you, meeting you, Winnie. As Kuza Africa, we are here for our members. So for anyone who wants to be a member, we'll be releasing our product sheet soon with all the options we have for memberships, and also with all the opportunities that we have aligned up for you guys. We are bringing some of our members at FIDAC, which is one of the biggest international fairs in Africa. It's in Dakar, Senegal. FIDAC means Foire de Dakar. It's happening from November, and Rwanda, it will be also a country guest of honor. We have a workshop happening also in November next month. We'll have experts from Belgium coming in to support, and we hope it really going to help young fashion designers. It will be mostly about creativity and branding. A lot of Some of the great insight we had from Winnie is how much branding is important and how much brand identity is important. The workshop will be along that conversation. So follow our pages. We have pages everywhere: LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. On Instagram, we are kuza.kigali. LinkedIn is Kuza Africa, and as well X is Kuza Africa, and you can get a lot of information on our website. We are here for real to support our members, and everything we do is for our members. So looking forward to welcoming you as our members and to continue grow this industry. Thank you very much.
Winnie, there's something we want to know so we can see this time.
Okay, first, thank you so much for inviting me to be on your platform. It's always an honor to be able to give my 2 cents about different conversations and how I interpret stuff. And I think education and learning is not something that you do for a limited period of time. It's something that you have to keep on doing. You have to keep on revising and understanding the industry you're working in. And being on such kind of platforms is like another way to keep the information renewed and refreshed. And I'm glad that you called me. I'm glad to have heard from Kolbe and just to hear his intake also in the fashion industry. It's always helpful. It doesn't matter how big a brand is, they're always doing webinars and everything to educate their workers. So why not? Why can't we also do the same for ourselves? And thank you so much, Celestine, because this is exactly what that is. It is like Gucci making a webinar to teach its designers what to do and what to look forward to. And it's one of the things that I also am passionate about because, for instance, earlier this year, I was in Barcelona University giving a conference about intercommunication skills. These kind of things are there to help us as designers, as fashion enthusiasts, to keep fresh, to keep renewed, to understand where the industry is at the moment. And I'm happy to have been on this platform for that reason. We are having an event for those who are going to be around my area, which is going to be so hard, but I hope you will show your support even just by liking a photo, just because we posted that we're going to be there. But we're going to be launching our next collection in December, and the first runway for that collection is going to be at a charity event called La Marathon, and it's going to be an event that is organized by one of the national televisions here, and we're going to be one of the participants. So if you're around, make sure you come through. It's going to be at Montserrat, a very, very beautiful place. You have to be there if you are around. If you're not, I'll be there for you. Don't worry, we got you covered. In June, I will be in University of Girona, where I graduated from, where I'm currently a active jury, member of jury for final projects. So if you're still around, if you happen to drop by within the months of July or June, you can, I think it's in June more than July. I will confirm that on our pages, but I will be around. So if you are in that zone, you can always drop by and say hi. I will be around there doing my job as a judge for the new fashion brands that we'll be launching. And besides that, follow us on all our social media platforms. It's always Wine Chirabo, the fashion brand. And we love you. We appreciate that you love us back. I've been receiving so many messages of people waiting to be part of this conversation. And I'm grateful to have had this opportunity, really. I could be here saying thank you, thank you, thank you until 2 hours. So yeah, I'm going to stop now.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you, our great speakers. We really, I'm so happy. And thank you, everyone who's sending love to our guest speakers. So, our guest speakers, we hope next time if we invite you, really show up. And yeah, so if I think this is the end of our conversation. We didn't put this online. Someone was saying they had some technical issues, but the conversation will be uploaded on the YouTube channel. People can still access it. Otherwise, thank you so much, and God bless everyone. Those who are still around, if you don't mind, you can open your picture. We just can open your camera. You can grab a pictures for all of us, if you don't mind. We'll count to 3. There's still a few more who haven't. Wendy Roberts, Mr. Siwo, GPS. All right, let's do this. We're gonna do 1, 2, 3. Another one more, just for a second. One more. 1, 2, 3. Oh, Haru, the guy, Mr. Franco, is just showed up. Oh, another one. I see Mr. Gerard. Yes. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Franco, Mr. Siwo, Franco, we just give you 1 minute. You say hello to us and maybe you apologize why didn't show it up. You came at the end. And, yes.
I thought it was 12.
Was?
I thought it was 12. I was just late one. Yes.
No.
I showed up 1 minute late and I heard you saying you're concluding on that.
Okay. So all right, there are many models who really wanted to learn more about you. So we hope we can organize something for them.
We'll do something for them. Maybe next time. Just let me know even tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So guys, thank you so much and have a good day. Keep following each other, keep buying from each other, and see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.